Six o'clock, Nancy.
We're ready. 6 o'clock, okay. All right, it is May 8th and it's 6 o'clock and I'm calling the borough meeting to order with a flag salute led by me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey.
Good. Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, adequate and electronic notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in the Beach Haven Municipal Building, on the borough website, and mailing the same to the Beach Haven Times, the Asbury Park Press, and the Press of Atlantic City. Mr. Batista.
Here.
Mrs. Ball Miller.
Here.
Ms. Lambert.
Here.
Ms. Snyder.
Here.
Mayor Davis.
Here.
Cash receipts in the current fund account for the period of April 1st through April 30th were $2,221,592.70. Cash disbursements in the current fund account for the period of April 2023 totaled $1,200,535.42. Cash balance in the current fund account as of this period totaled $16,783,488.54. Cash receipts in the water utility account for the period of April 1 to April 30th, 2023 were $193,392.58. Cash disbursements in the water utility account for the month of April totaled $33,268.30. And the cash balance in the water utility account as of April 30th, 2023 was $4,977,954.41, submitted by our treasurer, Sherry Bowler.
All right. We're off.
Ordinance 2023-06, bond ordinance authorizing various improvements to pickleball courts by and for the Borough of Beach Haven in the County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, appropriating $250,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $238,000 bonds or notes to finance part of the cost thereof. Final reading.
Nancy, can I address this?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. So at this time, my motion is going to be to withdraw this ordinance. I believe we need more time to understand the issues raised by the general public on this matter. The intention is to spend the next 3 months gathering data and to revisit this in the fall. I make a motion, we withdraw 2023-06.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Batista.
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller.
Yes.
Ms. Lambert.
Yes.
Ms. Snyder.
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Before we move on, in relationship to this particular ordinance, I think this council has spent more than enough time on this issue. I think we owed it to the pickleball playing population of Beach Haven and obviously the rest of the island surrounding area to give them 6 courts, which we've done. The amount of time we have spent, I think, is getting ridiculous. So at this point in time, I would like to, and I know we can't do it tonight, but I would like to recommend that this issue goes out to a referendum so the voters and the taxpayers of this town can decide if they want to spend any more money on this issue. I think that's the only fair thing to do at this point, because otherwise it starts up again in September, the pros, the cons, the should we, shouldn't we. And at the end of the day, this is going to come down to the taxpayers. And we've got a lot going on, and I'm not sure that this is something that they want. They can tell us. We'll find out that way.
Can I say something? So I don't know if, I hear what you're saying and I don't know if it's necessary because I don't know that in September it is going to be revisited. So
I was just going by what Mike said,
right,
that
I
he
know.
wants to revisit it. I'm just saying, we have revisited this topic. I mean, when I first got on the council, this had come into our sphere. I mean, we inherited it actually, and it went on for hours and hours. And now we're back here again, hours and hours. This town has a lot more pressing issues than pickleball. And that's why I said we did the first 6 courts. They're beautiful, state of the art. I think at this point in time, if we're going to do more, then the voters should have a say in the issue.
If it goes further, I agree with you.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to?
I think putting a recreational on the referendum is a bad idea. I think you're setting a precedent for any future activities then. I mean, what about the skate park? Is that
Well,
next?
No,
Basketball
actually,
court. I mean, it's just, these are recreational activities. And what we do when we have the capital discussion, we look at all the recreation in town and then we take into consideration the bonds and we decide as a council. I think putting something like pickleball in the referendum is just not something that I would like to see. I'd like to see something kind of like more important than pickleball. I think it just sets a bad precedent.
my point, I understand what you're saying, but for instance, the skate park, we don't have one. And I think that's a separate issue. But we have pickleball courts and it has caused so much concern and, like I said, countless hours. I'm talking about something that we already have, not something that we don't have initially.
I just don't think I think it's
Use your
probably going to be a
microphone, Kitty.
moot point.
I think
it's gonna be a moot
I think we can think about this. We don't have to make a decision tonight. When we do a referendum, we need to basically find out, it has to go, we have to apply to do a referendum months ahead of the time. I think Sherry should look into that and see.
I did.
You did,
August 18th.
what the time frame is.
August 18th, 81 days prior,
How many?
81 days prior to the
81
election.
days,
So
okay.
August.
Oh, so that's about 3 months. So we don't have a whole lot of time to think about it, but we can think about it. I hear both sides of the argument, and that's probably one of my worst problems is I can see both points of view, and so I never am adamant about one thing versus another. But I mean, it's the same thing, Colleen. If let's say some of us want to paint pickleball lines on 2 tennis courts, do we need a referendum for that, or do we make a decision? So I think we need to put a little bit of thought into this. And we have 3 months, so that means we have to make a decision. Well, it's November, right? So we have time to make the decision. Probably have to make a decision by August.
August.
All right, does that work okay for everybody?
Yep.
At this point?
Thank you.
Okay.
Ordinance 2023-13C, an ordinance amending the code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey to create Chapter 42, Volunteer Incentives, codifying the borough's length of service awards program for the Beach Haven Volunteer Fire Company Number 1 and the Beach Haven Volunteer First Aid Squad to permit an annual cost of living increase as directed by law for LoSAP contributions to the volunteer fire and first aid members who are eligible. Tonight is supposed to be the public hearing and final adoption of this, but I would like to ask the council to carry this to May 25th. The newspaper was unable to publish my notice in time, so I would like to carry it to the next meeting to make sure the public has enough time to review it.
That's fine with me. Is there
Fine.
anybody that is against that? Okay, so.
Do I have a motion to
yeah.
carry till May 25th?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Batista?
I'm a member of the fire company, so I'm going to abstain
Thank
from
you.
any decision on this.
Mrs. Ball Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Lambert?
Yes.
Ms. Snyder?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-15C, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 95, Fire Prevention, Article 13, Knox boxes, in the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey. The purpose of this ordinance is to simply extend the deadline for compliance, installation compliance. We have been working diligently. I know the chief has been working diligently with the business property owners to get into compliance. I'm requesting an additional 6 months for initial compliance. This is first reading.
All right, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Batista?
Yes,
Mrs. Ball Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Lambert?
Yes.
Ms. Snyder?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
All matters listed under item consent agenda are considered to be routine by the municipal council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certification of availability of funds, and any item requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed separately. All consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes. Resolution 106 is returning piling bonds. 113 is acknowledging the hiring of a part-time finance clerk, Jason Velasco. And 114 is approving an agreement between and authorizing the execution of an agreement by and between the Borough of Beach Haven and the Tuckerton Seaport and Bayman's Museum for the ferry. That's it.
Anybody want to take anything off for further discussion? No, so therefore do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda of resolutions?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Batista,
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
At this time, we will hold the public hearing and adoption of the 2023 municipal budget. I'll hand the floor over to our CFO, Sherry Bowler.
Hi, thank you. Okay, I'll just give a budget summary. It's basically the same as it was at our introduction. There were no changes from our introduced budget that we introduced on March 30th. The total budget is $15,576,675.27, which is an increase over the prior year of $1,961,341.08, which was a 14.41% increase. Some of the changes, our amount to be raised by taxation is $8,503,36.82. We had a 1 cent increase over the prior year, bringing our tax rate to 0.393. The library tax levy and appropriation, $1,047,873, which was a 21.39 cent increase over the prior year, which is a state mandated figure. As far as revenues, we increased our surplus that we use to support the budget by an additional 1.6 million, which if you recall from our budget discussion, we increased our debt band principal pay down from 1.2 million to 2.2 million as a result of the cancellation of the CDL loan that we received in the prior year, which was $1 million. On the appropriation side, insurance increased by 16%, pension increased by 8%. Those are also mandated figures that are beyond our control. In total, salary and wages increased 2.9%. Operating expenses increased 21.55%. We had a one-time revenue in the budget, which was a New Jersey Municipal Relief Fund, which was an additional state aid that we received in 2022, totaling $11,740.58. Our water utility budget, total appropriation, $1,857,500, which was no change over the prior year. And that's it. There were no changes. We were eligible this year for a self-examination of the budget. So therefore, there were no changes directed by the Division of Local Government Services. So it is unchanged as of the introduced budget. Thank you.
Any questions for Sherry? No.
Any questions? Oh, the council, but I think we're in better shape than the federal government.
Then we'll open the floor for
Yeah.
budget.
Nobody has questions, so I'll open the floor for questions from the public. Please state your name and address.
And this is for the budget specifically. Okay.
I have a brief comment. Bob Swisher, 2209 West Avenue. I'm here to compliment the budget. I think you guys do a great job. I'm a municipal auditor. We audit 70 towns.
Uh-huh.
And when I look at Beach Haven's balance sheet and things like that, you guys do a great job. I'm sure it's the CFO, the administrator that are directing it, but you guys are listening to what they're saying. I'm involved in a lot of towns where there's a plan, but the council doesn't go along with it. They decide they have to do something else. And I credit you and previous councils. You guys are in really good shape. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have a wonderful CFO. We're
Yay, Sharon.
very fortunate. Thank you. Appreciate that. Anybody else would like to come forward and speak on the budget? John? Don't forget to state your name and address.
John Halebrand, 319 Fairview Avenue, Beach Haven, New Jersey. I also want to compliment the council on the budget and the CFO. As she could tell you, I do go through it and I ask lots of questions. And my only recommendation, and I sent an email to the council, I think it would be helpful for the public when they see these increases. How does it compare to other percent increases, such as the consumer price index or municipal wage increases? Because we are in inflationary times, and I look at the numbers and they're below inflation. I mean, they're like between the 2.6 to 3.7% increase.
Our numbers.
Your number.
Yes, they are, yes.
Yeah. So I think the public should understand that there, as Sherry said, there's expense items that you have no control over, and yet we're still able to mitigate the tax increase under what the current inflationary rate is. So again, I want to commend the council and Sherry on.
Thank you. I'd also like to mention that we have worked hard to try to get our employees a living wage. And that, we've worked very hard. Some of our employees were making so little money, I don't know how they could have survived on it. And so we have tried within reason to get their salaries up to a living wage. And I think that I commend Sherry and Shari both for their work in trying to do that as well.
Yeah, and again, I think it's important for the public to understand while you're trying to mitigate tax increases, there's some things that are just out of your control that you have no control over, like the insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Appreciate that. Anybody else like to come and speak to the budget? Anybody on Zoom? Is there anybody on Zoom you see?
We have about 60
I
on
forgot
Zoom.
about Zoom.
I don't see any hands up.
Okay, so I'm going to close the floor to that
Thank you.
topic.
Be it resolved by the council members of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, that the budget hereinbefore set forth is hereby adopted and shall constitute an appropriation for the purposes stated of the sums therein set forth as appropriations and authorizations of the amount of $8,503,036.82 for municipal purposes and $1,047,873 for municipal tax. It is hereby certified that the within budget is a true copy of the budget finally adopted by resolution by the governing body on the 8th day of May, 2023. It is further certified that each item of revenue and appropriation is set forth in the same amount and by the same title as appeared in the 2023 approved budget and all amendments thereto, if any, which has been previously approved by the Director of the Division of Local Government Services. Mr. Batista.
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller.
Yes.
Ms. Lambert.
Yes.
Ms. Snyder.
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Certified by me this 8th day of May, 2023.
Thank you very much, Sherry. Great job.
I have a bill list today in the amount of $1,358,181.29.
Any questions or comments on the bills?
The 25,000, that's our audit. And that's open. So what is the audit total?
Our audit, I believe, is 35, I believe is the
35.
amount.
Okay. I just wanted to comment also that our engineer has a bill in this month of 49,000. Water main replacement, 62,000. Pump system, 213,000, just so you have some understanding where the big money is being spent.
Mhm.
Yeah, those are big monies and the school's big money. So anyway, we don't think schools aren't on there this time. All right, are
Motion.
we ready to vote on this? Is there a motion to approve the bills? Is
Make a motion, we approve the bills?
there a second?
Second,
Mr. Batista.
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller.
Yes.
Ms. Lambert.
Yes.
Ms. Snyder.
yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
That's all I have.
Okay, so now I'm opening the floor to public comment. You can speak about anything that you want to tell us or whatever. 3 minutes and state your name and address. Hello, good to see you back.
My name is Jim Cadmus, 327 Pearl Street in Beach Haven. I've been a resident there for over 35 years. What is occurring in Beach Haven with the proposal to expand pickleball, building a skate park and a large basketball court will negatively impact the neighborhood by forcing us to accept the desires of a few small self-interest groups, many who are not even Beach Haven residents or taxpayers. By putting in these activities, you will be greatly impacting our quality of life and property values. Some council members appear to have no consideration for the residents or taxpayers who are grateful and proud to own a home here. Apparently, some council members have not asked their community desires. Once again, they appear to be acting on the self-interest of specific groups and not asking the taxpayers to pay the bill. The 200+ signatures supporting the skate park contain many signatures of non-Beach Haven taxpayers and residents. We strongly oppose these proposed activities, especially being targeted for Walsh Field. Leave Walsh Field in our neighborhood alone. You have already negatively impacted the Nelson Avenue neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody on Zoom? We'll go back and forth if you,
Yeah. Karen Milano.
Hello.
Go
Yes.
ahead. State your address for the record.
Hi, my address is 1209 Bay Avenue. And my name's Karen Milano. My question is, well, it's actually a little bit more than just one question. It's a little more twofold. We live on the boulevard. My father has owned the property since the 80s. My sister and I inherited it. In Sandy, the house was destroyed. We raised the house up. We had every variance under the sun. In order to do so, we pay some of our taxes to Long Beach Township and some of our taxes to Beach Haven. We go to the beach in Beach Haven, etc. We are on the boulevard right across from where they're building new construction, catty corner to Hands, right next to Jack's New York City Bagels. We flood horribly. Even after all the pumping that they did, we flood when there's any rain and there's high tide. We've accepted it, we deal with it, we understand the consequences, but we move our cars to the side streets because we don't have a driveway. They didn't let us cut a driveway, which there's not a lot of frontage on our property anyway. And we move our cars to the side street when they're predicting rain and it's going to be high tide. Someone's at work, someone's somewhere else for the weekend. It's now our permanent residence. The last really bad storm that we had, not this most recent storm, I want to say it was October or November. We actually were parked on 12th Street and our car got totaled even on the side street. We got the car flooded out. So my issue is, and I started noticing because it's only been since October we moved here permanently, and we always move, we park our cars on 12th Street. For 13th Street is Long Beach Township, but not as good. You have Biggie's, you have Hudson House. There's not as much available parking. The people of Beach Haven that live on the side streets are not flexible in the fact that all our cars would flood out and they don't want you parking in front of their house. I paid a ticket during that time when our car got flooded out. It's a very faintly yellow curb, not a yellow curb, a yellow blocked out space. But I know that the neighbor called the police about it. I mean, there are no cars because it's the winter. There's nobody here. It was my first winter living here. But my husband did park the car there. I was in the car when he parked the car.
30
He never
seconds.
realized that it was yellow. And I paid the ticket. That's not my issue. But then in noticing, after that and noticing it's not the summer when I would always be here other times, there are random houses on the side streets who randomly have the whole front of their house yellowed out. Now, what gives them the right? No driveway. There is one specific house that I am thinking of. There's more than one besides that, but that the house, there is no driveway whatsoever, and the entire front of their house is yellowed out. There's others on the street. Do they have special preference with the town, or do they spend?
Karen, that's your 3 minutes.
Let me just make a comment. It's kind of hard to be able to answer you because without seeing it, but I'll come up and take a look at it, and maybe our public works people could. It sounds like you're right halfway in the township and halfway in Beach Haven. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and the other thing I do want to say is there will be a pumping station up there. So, and that should be finished soon. So that should really alleviate your problem during nuisance flooding. It won't alleviate your problem if there's a giant hurricane, but it will alleviate your problem during nuisance flooding. But I'll come up and look at it, okay?
That would be great, because like I said,
All right.
my other issue is that, like, we'll be going
Karen,
around.
that was your 3 minutes.
Yeah, can you talk to me later? That's fine, because we do have this policy of 3 minutes. All right? I'll be
Okay,
glad
so
to take
how
your
do I
call or
reach you?
text.
Because I have other questions.
I have an email address. It's mdavis@beachhaven-nj.gov. And if you call the borough, they'll give you my cell phone number. Okay?
Okay, that sounds great. And I'm sorry, Ann Davis.
Nancy
I'm sorry.
Davis. Okay?
Nancy Davis.
I'll be
Okay,
glad to
no,
talk to you. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
great.
We can find somebody that can talk to you and maybe come up with a solution. All right? Okay. Thank you. Who else wants to come forward and talk? Don't forget to state your name and address. Everybody forgets.
Let's see, who am I? Vic Bertotti, 1205 South Bay Avenue, Beach Haven.
Okay.
I've been on this island for 84 glorious years.
Good.
The council has been beating the pickleball issue to death. And I think it's time that it stop. I have done my survey, just walking around, talking to my friends of all these years. And I talk to them and say, where do you live? And they say, I live in Beach Haven. I said, no, you don't. Where do you live? Well, I live in Beach Haven. Where do you live? Down by the Acme. It's about time that people realize that there's Beach Haven Crest, Haven Beach, North Beach Haven. It is not Beach Haven, and they don't pay our taxes. And this council wants to spend $250,000 on, and I was taught years ago that words mean things. I'm looking at the bond ordinance authorizing various improvements to pickleball courts. I want to know what the improvements are, not the additions that you want to add, but the improvements. Words mean things. The way this is written leads me to believe that somebody's going to get these extra pickleball courts that they want. And this is not proper to spend Beach Haven taxpayers' money to do that with. I have a voice. I've never done it before. I've never voiced my opinions before, but I pay these taxes and they don't. And they want. It's up to you to keep this legitimate.
Thank you for your comments. Zoom?
Somebody fix it. Thank you. Does it need to go up?
Is there anybody on Zoom?
Yeah. Andrea Russo. Andrea Russo,
Can you hear me?
yes, go ahead. State your name and address
Okay,
for the
I'm
record.
gonna- Also, 328 Nelson, right across from the pickleball courts. So I'm going to jump in on that issue also, jumping in right on the taxpayer issue, but also most of the people playing pickleball are not from Beach Haven for sure. Probably not even from, most are not even from Long Beach Island, and many renters come there. So for us to use tax money and to pay for more courts when we already have a lot of disruption there already, this really, is noisy, early in the morning, and goes on all day long. So I don't know. I can't believe the issue is still out there, but, definitely would not support more pickleball courts. Maybe you need to put it somewhere else on the island in a place that's not going to disrupt the neighborhood.
Thank
That's
you.
all.
Thank you very much.
Somebody from the audience here? Yes.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. Thank you. That's so lovely. Good evening, everybody. I'm Corinne O'Connell, 331 Maryvale Avenue. I have just a couple, I had shared earlier the neighborhood letter of opposition with you all. So I just want the record to show that that was passed along again with updated signatures. When will the vote happen? There's confusion here in the room, right? There's a lot of folks that are asking.
It just did.
We just passed it.
I
We
don't
just,
know why
we
you
just,
don't get it.
we just voted
So
on
it's
it.
dead,
Yeah.
but then it's back in September. There's nothing.
No, it's not back in September.
So it's just what right now?
It's just, we're dropping
withdrawn.
the subject. Now, I can't say it won't come up again in the future, but for the time being, it's dead. If we have another issue to put pickleballs in, it could be pickleball courts, it could be somewhere else, it could be not at all.
Yeah.
I think over the summer, people do want to, some of the council, myself included, would like to just look and see, has there really been a drop off in pickleball since the township has added more courts? How many people really do? We're trying to charge more for non-residents for pickleball. I want to see how many people are willing to pay extra if they don't live in Beach Haven.
Right.
I mean, and we need to know this. It is the fastest growing sport in America, and it's going to continue to grow. And that might mean that maybe somewhere else, I personally would like to see the pickleball court somewhere else, more towards the commercial area where they don't annoy people as much.
Yeah.
But
Thank you for that.
if
I'm
we do
mindful
need
of,
more, maybe we don't need more.
Yeah. So we just sort of wait and see. But I
Well, you
heard
might-
also
I
like,
mean,
I think you're just confused. During like late summer and early September, we have the capital bond ordinance.
that's when they're,
Yes,
Okay.
and that's a big discussion. So when we're saying September, anytime we were going to have a bond ordinance to borrow money for
that's
any
where
type of
that's where it
recreational,
starts.
right, or our
Okay.
big ticket items like the trash truck and stuff like that, that's when that discussion
Okay.
happens. So when we say September, it's not being pushed to September, is that if additional
If it
recreational
surfaces again.
activities are needed, it would be wrapped together with the whole capital budget.
That's helpful to understand that
Yeah, there's
process.
a municipal budget and then there's the capital budget, and that
Yeah.
usually happens end of summer, September.
And then I guess my one other is in that space of transparency of Mayor Davis talking about listening, right, this summer and how you collect information. I think a lot, like I'll speak for me, it would be helpful to know what that process is and some transparency around. I think it would help in building trust of what that is and how that unfolds and what voices and, will there be an RFP for an outside consultant to,
We
be
are
hired?
Working on that.
Okay.
But you're very right about that. And maybe what we need to do is when we get a little more organized, put stuff up on the website too. So you do know what's going on. And you're absolutely right, because we do need, if we do it, it has to be done right. I mean, we need somebody to go down every day and see how many people are waiting to play pickleball. We don't really have good statistics on that. We need some way to see how many people really are. I mean, and hopefully by asking non-residents to pay a higher fee, we'll have a better
Yeah.
concept of that. But we really need somebody to go down and poll people, not just one time, but
Right.
periodically.
Yeah.
And
And I think there's also then the people who don't want it.
yeah,
That data needs to be collected too, not just how many people are waiting to play pickleball.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So thank you. Just a
Yeah, and
couple.
that's, you bring on some really good points. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, on Zoom, is there anybody that wants?
I don't see any other hands up on Zoom right now.
Okay, somebody else from the audience? Yes. Oh, you're next.
Hi, Deanna Carpentier. I live at 327 Maryvale, directly across the street from the green space at Nelson Ave Park. And I just wanted to let you know, I actually play pickleball. I enjoy the sport, but I absolutely do not support putting additional courts or expanding space at Nelson Ave Park. You're welcome to come and sit on my front porch and watch what's happening out there. It is definitely an increase in noise, traffic through the morning, but then come 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I don't know who's waiting to play pickleball because the courts are empty through the afternoon and through the evening. So I would encourage any Beach Haven residents that want to play pickleball, come to the existing courts and use them from 1 p.m. until dusk. You won't have a wait to play. And I also am curious if the council has considered possibly adding pickleball lines to the existing tennis courts, which is what a lot of tennis clubs have done, because you can just buy portable pickleball nets and then you could use them for both sports. I just don't think that it's worth taking away the green space at Nelson Ave Park. The kids use it for kickball, wiffle ball games, soccer games. They're out there using it, and there is just no need. If anybody wants to play pickleball, come at 1 o'clock in the afternoon or later, and they're sitting empty. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay.
Good evening. Ann Pascas, 306 Cove Lane, Beach Haven. Yes, pickleball is growing, but so is tennis. Tennis has exceeded 1 million new players over the last 2 years. So tennis is not dying out. But one of the issues with pickleball is they schedule nothing. It is just a complete chaotic show up whenever you want and try and get 50 people to play pickleball all at one time. If they started scheduling, whether it be the A players, the B players, the C players, and just organized it a little bit better, or just organized a period, it's just chaos. I don't know whether any of you go down to the pickleball courts, but everybody shows up at one time. On the tennis courts, and I organize a big group. We have close to 50 people just in our group, not even incorporating the people that come on the island for the summer. Nobody ever waits more than 15 or 20 minutes. They come, they schedule their games, they play, they leave. And you would never find the Giants, the Jets, and Philly all on the same football field at the same time, the same day. They schedule games. You schedule your meetings. So there's no reason that 50 pickleball people show up at the same time. If they did a little bit of scheduling, I think it would help them a little bit. Secondly, to put pickleball lines on tennis courts, that's great for pickleball players that have never played tennis. They have no idea how distracting it is, how much of a problem it is. And our Beach Haven tennis courts are filled from 7:30 in the morning until 11:30, the same as the pickleball courts. It's just the way the programs grow. We don't have pickleball issues because we organize our courts. We organize the players. They know to come at 10 o'clock. They know to come at 7:30, and they're not all just showing up at once. So I think that has to be taken into consideration too. And please don't line our tennis courts. It's just a terrible experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Is there anybody on Zoom, by the way?
No.
No.
No
Okay.
one has hand up.
My name is Rich Conaway. I live at 330 Ocean Street in Beach Haven. They staked out part of the field on Walsh Field for the skate park, which is hard to determine what those states really mean. I suggested this last two times of the two different meetings, that perhaps for the skateboard park, the location should be looked at west of the boat ramp. There's room there for it. It would cause the least disturbance to neighbors compared to what Walls Field would. And also in this, I'm against changing the small court to a full-size court, basketball court. Leave Walsh Field as it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rich, to answer your question, the survey is the outbound dimension of the skateboard park. So that is the outbound of the fence. That is the total square footage within those 4 flags.
But then how is that fence is it gonna zig and zag?
No, that's a
make those points?
There should be 4 flags out there. It's a rectangular field.
If it is, it's not very clear. I went and looked at it. It certainly isn't very clear to look at.
Well,
The
we'll go
stakes,
look at it
yeah,
and maybe
the-
somebody move one of the stakes.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
Well, there are pins in them, so I don't think they moved the stakes.
they're labeled and color
They're
coded.
pinned. So there's survey pins in the ground.
They should be the 4
should be.
outbound
Yeah.
corners
Well,
of the
if
fenced
it is,
area
it's-
of the
If it
skate
is,
park.
it's very difficult to understand.
I'll take a look at it
And
again.
it's just to get an idea to see.
And it
It's
takes
not,
up a hell of a lot out of the ball fields.
Well, the purpose of flagging it was so that everybody could see where the skate park is being.
Right, when if that's the case,
considered.
it still ruins the ball fields.
Well, that's certainly your opinion, and everyone else's can wage their opinion. The purpose here
Certainly.
is to be as transparent as possible and to show everybody where this proposed skate park.
Okay,
is
well, as it
currently
is, it's hard to understand.
Okay, I'll take a look at it.
next.
Hold on a second. Carl, did you want to be heard?
Oh,
Carl, were you trying to raise your hand?
you're muted.
I'm working on it. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. State your name and address for the record.
Yeah, my name is Carl Lumbill, 15 West 13th Street, North Beach Haven. I just want to refute the lady, the tennis lady. She is totally out of realm here. She doesn't really know what she's talking about because we do schedule people. We have an orderly process that ensures that everybody gets to play no matter what time they show up. So for her to think that it's not organized is totally wrong, absolutely totally wrong. And as far as lining tennis courts, again, I would question her veracity on that in as much as it happens everywhere. It happens everywhere. And I am a former tennis player. I played for 25 years at a very competitive level. So it does happen. I have seen it work where both communities get along and have an adult relationship. I take great offense at this lady stating that the pickleball community at Nelson Park is totally unorganized and out of control. That is totally, totally false. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Just a couple things. No clapping, no talking when other people are talking. So even if you don't want to listen to the other people, please just be quiet so the rest of us can hear. But no clapping, no booing, okay? All right.
But I just want to say, this should not be a back and forth, but I do believe, just for the record, that Carl comes into Beach Haven to run our pickleball
He has,
on a
yes.
daily basis,
Mhm.
along with another woman who also lives outside of Beach Haven. So let's welcome him he does a nice job for the people that pay taxes here and enjoy our pickleball court. So let's be a little easy on Carl.
Yeah, you can come forward. I agree. And another interesting fact is the Little Lake Harbor Yacht Club has 4 tennis courts that are now lined for both pickleball and tennis. 2 of them predominantly tennis and the other 2 predominantly pickleball. We'll see how that goes this summer, and that'll give us some information as to what we might want to do in the town. Go
Hi,
ahead.
Teresa Fisher, 329 Pearl Street. A couple, well, first I should say, I woke up Friday morning to three surveyors surveying the field for the skate park. And it's not, Ms. Batista, it's not just the fence. I did see the fences. I walked the whole thing. There are 4 stakes for the fences. The one on the east side lines up with the tennis court fence. The one to the west, that goes a little bit past, right around where the tennis court bathrooms are. That's there. They also have the stakes there for the skateboard park. And I personally think it's for both the first section of the park and the second. The first is more narrow, and then the second phase, it looks like it's wider. I don't know that for sure, but that's what it appeared to me to be. So one of my questions, or one of my thoughts is, and my surprise was, if we were getting a committee to review all these parks and different options for the skateboard park, why was this field already staked out?
Just to get an idea to see what it looks like.
Okay.
It isn't anything. it's
But did you
nothing-
stake out Taylor to see what that looked like? I mean, that's what I hear
Well,
or think.
yeah, we can do that too.
Yeah.
I mean, but because this was the one that we had all the plans for, this seemed the logical one to do first.
But Taylor
And-
was the
yeah,
other option, so
And
that
that's a
might be.
good question, and I'd like an answer. Is the staking out just phase 1, or is it phase 1 and 2?
The staking out is just phase 1.
That's what
and
I
there's-
thought.
There's 4, and this.
So it's going to get bigger than what's already staked out?
No, this is just phase 1. You have 4 pink flags, and that's
For
the
the
edge of the
fence,
fence. And then you have the
correct.
green flags in there, and that's the cement, the impervious. From the skateboard park to the fence will be green.
Right. I understand all that, but I mean.
No, it
the
doesn't
over-
have a phase 2 staked out.
Oh, I thought you were doing the skateboard where it was going to be a small section, and then you were doing like that's, I don't know much about
That's the hope
skateboards.
down the road, but there's no
Okay.
money allocated for that.
So that's not even part of this design.
No.
Okay. I also, going back to Taylor Park for this Taylor Ave for the skateboard park, was the concern that there wasn't enough people to take care of, or the police to police that area. And as to how you're going to police 2 areas now, when you're dividing kids up between Taylor and Walsh, if it ends up being on Walsh. So that was something else. I was wondering how that would happen. And I live directly across the street.
Another
from-
30 seconds.
I live directly across the street. Today, there were softball players, there were tennis players there all weekend. The dog park is full. I mean, that park is full all the time. And then you also have the stand for the produce during the summer. It's just already so overcrowded as a park. And to add one more thing to the park, I just don't agree with it. I think it's not a wise choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody out on Zoom?
Margie McGlynn.
Go ahead. Hi, we're.
Go ahead.
Ryan. Address 333 Pearl Street, Beach Haven, New Jersey.
What was the name
And
again?
I'm with- It's Sharon Ryan, but there are a group of 6 of us that are 7 of us that are in Bali right now. So if you look around 6 a.m., yeah, we got up at 6 a.m. to attend the meeting, let our voices be heard that we are opposed to putting a skate park or doing any more destruction of the green space in Beach Haven. We have so few areas of green space now. They took away the ball field at Bay Village. And when I was a kid, we played at the Ingleside Avenue. That wasn't an official ballpark, but we used it. And now the only one existing, it sounds like that's not going to be used. As I mentioned before, there were kids that were practicing for Southern Regional Baseball and for the team, I guess, a month ago, and they would not be able to use that park at Walsh Field to do that. So that's another reason why I feel like you're trading baseball for a skate park if you put it at Walsh Field. Also wondered why Taylor Avenue, which was the original proposal, in the summer, there was an article in the Beach Haven or in the Sandpaper that said it was supposed to be at Taylor Avenue. Many of us didn't know it was changed until the fall. So I do agree. I think Taylor Avenue would be a better place for it. You wouldn't be using you wouldn't be destroying any more green space. And as Terry Fisher mentioned, there are lots of activities. There's lots of dogs walking there in the park on the weekends and during the week. And I think that was it. Oh, you know what else? Oh. Oh, is there an update on Taylor Avenue? What's going on there? Because that was what was one of the proposals, was Taylor Avenue. I think a lot of people wanted it there.
The skate park originally that was designed at Taylor Avenue, we discussed moving it because one, it doesn't fit with the fence that's required for insurance purposes. And two, putting the skate park down there, I feel, is really setting it up for failure. There's so many kids down there at one time. The chief also thought it was appropriate to move it where there would be less of an issue with the crowds of kids that accumulate down there because of the lights. So even on the west side that Mr. Conway keeps suggesting, it's not going to fit there. So unless we take up parking spaces, which I know that nobody wants to entertain, that would be the only way to fit it at Taylor Avenue, would be taking up the parking lot.
So can you modify the design so that it does work? And has anyone staked it out? What is actually available or space that could use?
See, the problem with just digging up asphalt is that there's a lot of utility lines that run underneath that. So you have to be very careful when you're designing these types of parks. And that's most of the reason why they're not just put in the middle of parking lots, because there's utility lines running underneath those parking lots. There was a lot involved in this design. We're almost 2 years in the making of this design. This was talked about all of last summer. And unfortunately, Taylor Avenue is not the location that we can put the skate park at.
Thank you.
Discussed at Walsh last summer.
It was, the discussion at Walsh began at the end of summer, yes.
End of summer when everyone was gone. Okay. And my last question was the Parks Committee. When will they be looking at all of the parks to really determine the best?
We're working on that. It'll be
Okay.
soon.
Yeah, that would be great because it doesn't sound like there is a great place for it. And it's such a small percentage of kids or taxpayers that are really for it.
True. When
At
your
Walsh
time's
Field.
up, when somebody else wants to talk, because we got a lot of other people here.
Okay, we've got a whole group
Thank you.
here. And
I know. So, yeah, switch around. I mean, if you want to talk, introduce yourself and talk.
Let's go to the floor.
All right, I'll take somebody from the floor now. Yeah, okay, come on up.
My name is Steve Melchiorre. I live 1915 Virginia Avenue in Beach Haven. Council, I want to thank you for clarifying the question earlier about how this process works. I think everybody's been here now since early in the winter, same faces. And there's been what I would consider almost unanimous support in opposition of the pickleball. And I'm just confused as to if, I know you guys don't want to go back and forth, but what was the first meeting that we began to talk about this? Was it like January? So we're month 5 into it, right? With a bunch of really bright, talented people up here and back here. And it just feels like I've sat through every meeting. I've been here every one except one, which I was on Zoom. And you've got taxpayers, residents. I understand that there's people from out of town that also, do utilize our town for other things. But there's a group of taxpayers who have taken it upon themselves to spend money to retain counsel. There's been a poll that was released today that shows 80% opposition for pickleball expansion. And you guys are talking about putting together a committee, and it would be like similar to, who's going to choose who goes on that committee, because it's got to be a group of people who are going to be objectively looking at this, because if you have people with special interests, that's going to skew the numbers. There was over 300 people who participated in the recent survey through Engage Beach Haven. And I would say it should be something, pickleball should be, if it's this high demand, and why not let private industry monetize it? Because if council was run, or this government was run the way that private industry, I can tell you as a small business owner, there's no way I would ever spend this amount of time, this amount of manpower, taxpayer dollars to do all the surveys, because it's not your money. I would never spend it. And it's fiscally irresponsible. And we go back to the initial, my initial point back in January was
30 seconds.
I apologize. I lost my train of thought. My initial point in January was, sorry about that. I had it, but.
It happens to us all.
Oh, believe me.
Yeah, I appreciate your time. I think we've all
Thank you.
done a pretty good job of putting together the opposition, and I would just encourage you to listen to the people who've elected you.
I
And
think based upon our decision tonight, we have heard you.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Can I go?
on Zoom?
Yeah. Carol Tuorto.
Yes, hi, my name is Carol Tuorto, and I live at 323 Pearl Street. And I am against skate park, pickleball, all of it. I bought my house, we bought our place 9 years ago, and it was a nice little quiet little town with a little going on. It wasn't too crazy, and now I feel like it's getting like out of control. We're gonna have a skate park, we're gonna have this, we're gonna have that. If I wanted to buy a place at the shore, I would have bought it in Seaside Heights. Like, that's not what we want in our neighborhood. Our neighborhood is beautiful, it's quiet, it's serene. We have the field, we have people walking, we have enough activity between all of the things around us. The market, the bicycle shop, the down the street at the, all the things that go on at the bay. The tennis is not that bad. It is organized from what I could see. It's not too loud. I live near a park up here, up north, and I was at the park yesterday, and the pickleball is so loud. I don't know how I could not take it if I ever lived near it. It's awful. The noise is awful. The skate park would just ruin our community. It's this small little place with beautiful landscape and people, and it's just lovely. And it's really disappointing, and I'm really against it. And most of my neighbors are against it as well. I think we need to keep it simple the way it is, a small little town in Beach Haven, and not try to expand it. That's my opinion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Jen Tomlinson, 306 South Bay Ave, Beach Haven. I just want to make sure that everyone was in receipt of my most recent email signed by 82 taxpayers now petitioning against destroying any green acres, especially Walsh Field. I love your idea of things going to referendum, and things like, we've heard already the skate park wouldn't be ready by this summer, and August 18th is the date. Painting lines, I can see that being just people deciding, like, that doesn't cost, but bonds, taking out loans that fall on the taxpayers for hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe they are something that should be looked at for a referendum. I just had one other question. So the pumping stations, like on Pearl Street, where it was all, like, is that one working? Like, I know the road.
None of them are working yet.
Okay, I knew the road was ripped up, and I didn't know if it was like turned on or whatever.
Hopefully you'll know when they're working.
Sherry?
Not yet. The outfall on 7th is being installed now.
Okay, thank you.
Fingers crossed. All right, anybody on Zoom?
Yes. Jack McMaster.
We can't hear you.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. I only have a very quick question. 219 Nelson Avenue is my address. Sorry about that. The diagonal parking that was going to be added to the base of West Avenue at the base of the Nelson Park, nothing was said about that, and I'm just a little fearful seeing it's so close to the playground. Just adding angled parking there seems to me to be asking for trouble, but no one said anything about what's happening on that. Could you speak to that? Thank you.
What is happening?
Well, the aerial view has been uploaded to the website as the council requested for the community's review.
And it is
then-
on the website.
Yeah, it's on the
Take a look at
homepage.
that. We haven't made a definite.
On the
decision.
homepage, under announcements, there's the proposed angled parking on West. There's an aerial view there with it superimposed over. So just wanted to give the public some time to review it, and then we'll reconsider.
Okay. Anybody from the audience want to speak? Yes?
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Denise Shivo, and my address is 308 Ocean Street, Beach Haven. For those who may not know me, I grew up in Beach Haven. I went to Beach Haven Elementary School, and I learned how to skateboard during the 70s when I owned a beautiful Bain board with urethane wheels. Kenny Scott from Freedom Surf Shop helped me put it together. I skated my way from Beach Haven to Barnegat Light more times than I can remember. I get it. I get how kids need a place to skate, but let's try to give them a place where they can best coexist with others. Since Superstorm Sandy, flooding has become more and more of a problem on the field and surrounding area. The western part of Ocean Street floods after every substantial rain. My favorite teacher at Beach Haven School, Mrs. Voltaire, actually gave us all projects one day for the first Earth Day. There was one lesson I remember vividly. She had her own shadow box filled with sand, and she showed us the basic lesson of overbuilding and what would eventually happen to our island if we continue to take away our green spaces. Yes, there was a time when open fields were abundantly available. I have memories of my grandmother giving me a big bucket, and I would be sent down Leeward Avenue to pick wild berries so she could bake a pie. During my 60+ years, we have lost the green that once covered this island. There isn't enough land left for one pie. The field at Beach Haven is one of our few remaining refuges. On the field over this weekend, I saw a mother teaching her young son how to ride a bike with training wheels, an elderly man practicing his golf swing, many dog owners bringing their furry friends out to play, and a few children practicing soccer long into the afternoon. But along with what I saw, it was also what I heard. Laughter from a toddler, excitement from the soccer game, and nothing more than a seagull as the man practiced his golf stroke. This time of year, especially when you close your eyes on Walsh Field and listen, it almost sounds like I am back on Leeward Avenue picking berries. It is magical, to say the least. Pickleball courts, skateboard park, they would destroy the entire feel of what Beach Haven has on Walsh Field. A concrete commercial-sized swimming pool would be the epitome of placing a tombstone on Walsh Field. I am opposed to pickleball courts or a skateboard park on Walsh Field. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No clapping, please. Thank you. Anybody else on Zoom?
No other hands up on Zoom right now.
Anybody else in the room?
Good evening. Ken Bortner, 528 Leeward, Beach Haven. You know, I've been to a few of these meetings, and I get the sense that a lot of the folks that are sitting behind me are coming to these meetings because, frankly, they're worried that you're going to spend our tax dollars on a lot of projects that maybe are non-essential. So I'd like to know, my question is, how do we change the bylaws so that we set a limit, say $50,000? Any project above $50,000 has to be voted on, either via referendum or some other mechanism, so that we can stop coming to these meetings and stop worrying that you're going to approve some of these projects that frankly we don't need?
Well, I can't really answer that. We do have major, I mean, having the meetings are important because we hear what you say and we do listen. You can't really do much of a project for 50,000. I can guarantee you that at this point. But
Well, it's not so much the 50,000, whether it's 100,000 or 25,000. It's the idea that people are worried that you're going to spend, 200,000 on a putting green and 400,000 on the skateboard and 300,000 on the pickleball. No, I understand, but
But we shouldn't go back and forth, but maybe that's a good thought. And maybe we can talk about it. Maybe any project over a certain amount of money, we could have a referendum vote, whether it's a new thing or an old thing. That's not a bad idea. So I hope that you realize that our budget, we have our audit, our budget, our CFO, we have been very careful about the money the taxpayers spend. In fact, we've raised taxes that we're raising taxes 1 penny this year. It's way under the inflation rate. And we haven't raised taxes for quite a while. Our tax rates are much lower here than they are in the mainland.
Well, I understand, excuse me for interrupting, but if we have 600,000 excess dollars, why not rebate the taxpayers the 600,000? Is the 600,000 that you want to spend on some of these projects just burning a hole in the council's pocket, and we have to figure out how to spend this money, and now all of us have to come to these meetings to prevent you from wasting this money?
I don't think, I'm glad you came. Why don't you talk to me later?
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else on Zoom?
Louis Shatini.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yes, Luz Catini, 322 Leeward Avenue, Beach Haven. Just curious, is there a reason why any use of the pickleball courts cannot be limited to tax-paying residents of Beach Haven, excluding non-residents? Is there a reason that cannot be done to limit, to maybe modify the excess that everybody's complaining about with the noise and the need for additional parking and the need for more courts?
I'd like to answer that. And this forum, this public comment, and it should not be a back and forth. And moving forward, I would like to say and suggest to council that we remember the rules, and this is not a back and forth. But just to respond to what you just said, and I'll say this every meeting if I have to. Beach Haven is a welcoming community. We are a tourist-driven economy. To even suggest that we should keep people out, put up a fence, I don't know, to me is a very dangerous idea, and I would never support such a thing, and I hope that the council would agree with me.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you for your response or your comment.
Sometimes it's hard not to do back and forth, but we'll try not to. Okay.
Well, I'm not
Anybody?
finished. Can I finish my conversation? I'm sorry. There's one question. I just wanted to know if that was a rule that it had to be open, like Green Acres or something to that effect. You're indicating that we're a welcoming community, which is fine. We are welcoming. The town has grown. It's expanded. All our kids are there. I don't want to go on and on and on, but I was just curious as to if there was a rule or not that we had to. So you're saying you just want to. So that's okay. That answered that
There's
question.
no rule that we have to.
I'm sorry?
There's no rule.
Okay, so the taxpayers of Beach Haven, most of whom don't even live there full time and don't get to vote, their voices are not being heard. You've already heard over 80% of the poll is against it, and yet you have not made a decision yet. And I'm sorry, I forgot. I came in a little late, and I heard you say something about it. We already decided, and I don't know what you decided in reference to the $200,000 bond. Did I miss
We
that?
decided to drop the pickleball issue.
Oh, that's what I missed.
Welcome.
What does that mean?
That means we're not bonding out for pickleball. We're not allocating any money for pickleball. It means that we're forgetting about pickleball, at least for the time being. You might have a whole nother council that decides differently in the future. So
Okay,
I can't
sorry,
say it's gonna
take
be
up your time.
forever, but for the time being, we're pickleball's dead.
How about the angle parking issue? That was supposed to be on the agenda tonight, was it?
No, it
No.
wasn't, and we've already talked about that.
Tonight?
Yes.
Oh, that's what I missed. What did I miss? Can you tell me?
Well, I can't really go over everything. This
Watch
is
the
a back and
recording.
forth,
Oh,
but
I
you
thought the
can
meeting
read the
started at
minutes.
6:30. Didn't the meeting start at 6:30?
6
No.
o'clock.
Sorry,
Okay.
okay. We need to move on. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak? Yes.
Bridget Johnson, 334 Ocean Street. Just, I want to put it on record that I don't think Walsh Field is the best place for the skateboard park or, well, pickleball, I guess we don't have to worry about now. The flooding is my main concern, and the extra traffic and Ocean being a dead-end street, I think it's just going to cause a lot of issues. And I don't know if it's the best place for breaking up two groups of kids. I do think it's better to keep everything in one place down at Taylor Avenue or Bay Village, where it could be monitored a little bit better. We do have, I guess, what did Jen say, about 85 people in our neighborhood that have, signed our little petition. And I think we're as important as other parks. I would like to, hopefully you're moving forward with the park committee. And I don't really think anything should be decided on until there's a good plan for all the parks. That's all.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you.
Anybody on Zoom?
Sharon Ryan.
Hi, my name is Walt Ryan, 333 Pearl Street.
Go ahead.
Just had a couple questions just on the skate park at Walsh Field. I am opposed to it, but as far as the planning goes, there was phase 2 that was supposed to be put in there also. Just a question about how much additional area that took up. Do we know that?
I'm not commenting.
I have no idea. I mean, we're not even talking about that now. It probably shouldn't have been brought up when it was. It would only happen probably if it was so successful, the phase 1, that we needed more room. But I really can't tell you. I do not know the answer to that.
So the current phase 1 is 15,000 square foot. Is that how much footprint it's taking up?
6,000, something like that.
If you want
I
to
know-
email me, we can go through all of this. We've gone through all of these figures, multiple meetings. If you would email me, we can schedule a time, we can meet together, we can go over all of the site plans. I can give you all of the information that you wanted. We have gone over, we've taken council's time, the public's time. We can meet separately when you're
Okay.
back from Bali.
Yeah, my question was just, just to get a better idea of, I know it's been staked out and I know there's a plan to put that information forward, just to how much area that's taking up from the current ball field. My other question or comment was just from last meeting about the people from outside our borough that were coming to the meeting to support this skate park. And since it doesn't seem like there's a good location, and a few of the others have turned down, meaning Taylor Avenue or Veterans Park or the school have all been proposed and turned down. And we're down to Walsh Field, which many people are opposed. My question last time was, is there any coordination between Long Beach Township or off the island to put a skate park there? Is there any
No.
coordination?
I can
And-
answer you. I think we're about out of time. I gotta move on. Okay. Thank you.
No
Anybody else? Anybody else from the, yes? Next. Okay. What, no, I got.
No,
somebody.
she came up first because she had her hand.
Oh, you had your hand up first?
She's been waiting. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You didn't, I know, I just happened to notice it.
Hi, I'm Maureen O'Connell. I'm at 331 Maryvale Avenue. First, want to just express appreciation for the members of council who have responded in detail to all of the different emails that have come, at least from members of my family, to the question of the pickleball court. So thank you. Thank you for that. And I do appreciate it's hard to not have there be comment when folks just have questions about process. So this is just a process question, not so much in articulating an opinion. If the pickleball, so it's dead for now because you've withdrawn the vote on the ordinance. If it were, what is the process for it to be put back in motion sometime in the fall? And will the previous votes on passing that ordinance sort of carry forward into the next process, or do we start all over, just trying to learn how it works?
You start all over again. And it would be, right now, we have no money to build pickleball courts. So the first thing that would happen, I think Jamie explained it very well, is you have to say, well, do we want pickleball courts? Where do we get the money? Right? And so it's really from starting all over.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks for that clarity.
Is there anybody on Zoom?
No hands up right now.
Yes.
I've got a red eye. I got scratched the other day. Number one.
State your name and address.
Gene Bailey, 201 Pearl Street, over 40 years. Just want a couple comments, just my opinion. Been here for over 40 years. I love the town. I agree with Kitty. She made a comment a number of weeks ago on Zoom. I think we have to preserve as much of this open space as we can. I'm talking about Walshfield, Bicentennial Park, Nelson. They get tremendous use. We're a welcoming community. I agree with you on that. If you look Saturday, would you have a festivity over there at Bicentennial Park? Everybody from all over. All right. They use our restaurants. They walk their dogs. They bring their kids. That's what Beach Haven is all about. Walshfield is the same thing. Been that way for years. You walk on, you do what you want. There's lacrosse. There is soccer. There is tennis. There's softball. 40 years ago, I taught my son and my daughter to bike ride over at Walshfield. I've now gone through the process of my grandchildren learning to bike ride over at Walshfield. We have a kickball game every year at Walshfield. That park, these open spaces are so vital to attract people to this community. It's unbelievable. We talk about the changeover since Sandy, all the new residents, people that are seasonal. We got to open it up and get their opinion on what would benefit them and how they can utilize these parks. Pickleboard, I'm glad we put that on hold until we can figure out a lot of stuff. Skateboard park, I'm not opposed to it. I don't think Walshfield, Bicentennial Park, Nelson is the right place for it. If it had to go anywhere, I would prefer down by Taylor Avenue. There's mixed opinions on what's been said. Over the Zoom meetings that we've heard people make comments that the kids don't cause problems. Then we hear that putting the skateboard park over at Taylor Avenue will create too many kids and havoc. So we don't have a plan on it exactly. The other thing is the committee to review the parks. You know, I had offered to serve on a committee. I mentioned that to Sherry. There's a lot of things that could be done. And it's sitting down, even with the kids at Beach Haven School. For the money that we're spending, I'm an ex-physical education person. I ran a recreation department in my town for about 20 years. I think it's important to get a true handle on what these kids really want. For $250,000 or $300,000, we could probably spend $50,000 on a recreation person part-time to find out what the kids really need and what the community needs. It really is important. Have we really sat down with them? There's 85 kids at Beach Haven Elementary School. How many of them skateboard? There's a lot of other activities and programs that you can use for them. And I think it may be good to look at a part-time recreation person. The registration fees for these programs would probably pay for that person's salary, and you'd probably help out the majority of the community with it, the year-round residents and the seasonal residents. Thank you for your,
Thank you.
Wonderful
you.
comments.
For your work.
Thank you, Jean.
Thank you. Anybody else on Zoom? Anybody else in the audience? Anybody in the audience want to speak? Otherwise, I'm closing the floor to public comment.
Can I say something?
Yeah, well, let me close the floor.
Oh, yeah,
first,
sorry.
Okay. Nobody else. Okay, so I am closing the floor to public comment. Go ahead, Kitty. This can be your
Well,
last. your
this
la-
is it. Well, I just want to say, one comment I want to make is that we do need to remember whatever it is, but as far as green space is concerned, recreation is considered green space. Jen and I have talked about this, Jen, tell me, I mean, it is by green space definition, it is considered green space. Just keep that in mind. That's not to say we want 90% cement and 10% green space. I'm not saying that, but I have listened to all of the comments, concerns, support and complaints about both pickleball and the skate park. And what I have heard loud and clear is the passion you have and we all have for permeable, oxygen-loving green space. Walsh Field, Nelson, and Veterans Park all deserve and need our attention. Veterans Park is my baby. Everybody knows that. It is the centerpiece of the town, and it could really use our help. For years and years, myself and a group of some others have been trying to get some and any funding. I'm not suggesting that this is the only park that needs our attention or beautification, but it's been a long time coming. It's a little easier to beautify because it doesn't flood, unfortunately, as much as Walsh does. It doesn't flood at all. I'm not suggesting that it's the only park, but I do think it needs our attention. It serves as a tribute to our veterans. It's home for the community art program, Celebrate the Season, Memorial Day celebration, flea markets, craft shows, and so much more. It has a lot of potential. I'd like to start small. This is the time to plant, so I'd love to see if we can find enough funding to just at least plant a few trees now. And then in the fall, ask for some more money. If I'm donating the old lights that were getting renovated and fixed so that they can be put back up, I'm hoping by Memorial Day, they're actually beautiful. I'd love to see a dog watering station if anybody wants to donate that. If anyone wants to donate parts of a garden or shrubs, plants, please reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was really great. Well, this is the time for last remarks by council. So we'll start with you.
Thank you, Nancy. And thank everybody for all your comments during this period. I think it's our intention as a council to hear everyone's comments, take into consideration everything that everybody has said, and then make a decision that's in the best interests of our community. There are a lot of unanswered questions about pickleball, which is why we chose tonight to withdraw the funding application that would have given us the money to build the courts. But there are a lot of people that like pickleball, and we will spend the next 3 months gathering more information and trying to come to some conclusions that benefit this community, but the total community. So that's enough for pickleball for now. We'll see you back in September on that. The initiative of Memorial Day is coming up. I was hoping to have the pedestrian crossing signs in place for the summer, but that didn't happen either. So we'll see that in the fall. Hopefully by next year this time, we have all new traffic lights and pedestrian crossing signs. As the public knows, the county was giving us half the money for that. So we just have to be patient and wait for them to do what they do to get their half of the money. But I asked the police department to see if we could get people, drivers, motorists to yield to pedestrians more in town. Pearl Street, some of the other crossings that don't have traffic lights. I want to see motorists stop when a pedestrian steps off the curb in a crosswalk. And we want to try to get pedestrians to cross in the crosswalks. I think it will foster a friendlier, kinder place where people will recognize that everyone is important and we're here to relax and enjoy a really good summer vacation. So thank you all for all your comments, and hopefully we don't have to worry about any more pickleball here until a later date. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Besides recreation, there are other topics in town, so I encourage everyone to still keep coming to the meetings, to attend the meetings, and send us your emails. And it's great to see everyone involved. Thank you to Mr. Halprin and Mr. Swisher for the comments on the budget. That is an extraordinary time it's just a lot of work. And I appreciate you both going through that and your comments, because it's a difficult process. It's difficult to understand. And there's a lot of time and effort that goes in. So thank you for looking at that. I do appreciate that. I just wanted to just comment on a few things that, some people are really on the tail end of the skate park discussion. This is not something that we've been planning for 5 months. This is something that's almost been in the works for almost 2 years. And it started 2 years ago. Let me tell Mr. Bailey that there was a group of 8 to 12-year-olds that came to council, and the room was filled, not just with Beach Haven kids, because our Beach Haven kids, they hang out with township kids. There's no distinction between Beach Haven kids and township kids. Everybody hangs out together. Everybody plays soccer at Stafford. Everybody plays basketball at St. Francis. There's no distinction with the kids on the island. They all hang out together. So even if there's only 80 kids at the Beach Haven Elementary School, I don't think there's exactly 80. So I apologize if that number is not incorrect. But there's also 200 kids at the LBI school, so that they do interact together. And they did approach council for a skate park. And to mention the petition that a group of 8 to 12-year-olds submitted to council, if it wasn't all Beach Haven residents, it was a gesture that these kids came to council. They were embracing the democratic process and voicing their freedom of speech. So to mention that they weren't residents on a petition that was submitted by 8 to 12-year-olds, I apologize for that, I guess, because one of them was my daughter. I guess I'm one of the special interest groups. She doesn't really skate. She's not really that good. She just wanted to get a group of kids together during the pandemic. They built a quarter pipe. It was on my street. There was 20, 25 kids there all of the time. The camaraderie of people coming here to quarantine, this is what they wanted, Mr. Bailey. So they approached us for that. They didn't ask for a new basketball court. They asked for a small park. And, the design the whole design process was last year. I supported it, but I did step away from it. And 2 other council people embraced it and they started planning. They hired a designer to move forward with this. Unfortunately, our first location was not the best location. And, we learned from that. And so now the location is at Walsh Field. And, we are listening to your comments, and we just really need to kind of balance recreation. We need to balance recreation with our part-time residents and our full-time residents. But please remember, part-time residents, that it's really difficult to raise a family here. It's very expensive, so there's not a lot of us, but we are here. We are a little strong force of people trying to do what's best for the community and best for our children that live here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Colleen?
Yes, thank you all for participating. It's certainly been an interesting few months. We've had a lot of hot topics, and we do appreciate your input. I want to congratulate the fire department on what appeared to be a very successful block party the other day. I'm sorry they had to postpone it, but I think it really worked out for the best. I also want to offer our sympathy and condolences to our neighbors in Long Beach Township. They lost one of their commissioners, Ralph Bayard, and also the Harkness family. I'm sure many of you know them. Betty was a longtime resident of Beach Haven, and we lost her about 2 weeks ago. I wish all the ladies in the audience a happy Mother's Day. And again, thank you all for coming.
I think I said enough, but just thank you all for coming and thank you for your comments, one way or the other. Keep them coming. Thank you very much.
I reiterate that. Thank you. I think we all listen. It's important that you come. I don't, it makes me a little upset to think that folks feel that they have to come to keep us honest. And I think we are pretty honest and open people, but thinking about this after that comment, there's a lot of process that goes through with budgeting and a lot of discussion, and it's very hard. And personally, I think the biggest responsibility we have is to keep our town solvent, and that's really our most important job. I can say that the process, really how it works, if you don't trust us and you feel like you have to come to the meetings and you don't want to come, but you're coming because you don't feel comfortable with us, then you need to elect different employees. Some of you should think about running for office yourselves. There's always need for new blood and people that want to run for office that feel they can do a better job. So I really think you should think about that. I think I've enjoyed it. I've done it for probably too long, but I've met a lot of really great people, and it's a wonderful community. It's a special community. I appreciate everybody's opinions. I sometimes don't agree, but lots of times they change my mind, and I'm happy one way or the other. I love Beach Haven, and I think we all do, and our hearts are in the right place to continue to make this the best shore town in New Jersey, and that's the way I feel about it. And maybe we don't want it that way because we get too many people coming, but thank you for coming. It's really nice to have people out there supporting us. Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yeah. Second.
Yes.